Ooh, a recording in progress.
Woo! Laura J here with Jim Kerr, aka Papa Bubbles of the Church of Bubbles. How are you today, Jim?
Bubbly, baby, bubbly. Doing good.
Woo! It is April 23rd, and you are on yet another adventure that I wanted to connect people to because it's important.
Cool. I'm down. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I flew 3,000 miles and drove another 3,000 kilometers, drove another 1,000 to get my butt out here on my own time and my own dime. These people need the help, and they're getting the shaft big time from the government. So, yeah, anything we can do to raise awareness, fantastic.
Awesome. So, what is actually happening?
Well, what happened was back in December, there's a flock of 400 ostriches. And there's a farm out here in BC. It's Edgewood, BC. And back in December, there was a disease that went through the herd and killed 69 birds. And what happened was they called the CFIA. The CFIA came in, took testing on 2 dead birds. Now, the gold standard for testing in these cases is to take a live tissue sample. So when they came in, they took dead samples from dead birds, and in order to test, they used the PCR test. Now, I don't know if you know anything about the PCR test, but they used this PCR test at 45 cycles. Okay. You're talking like 95% false positives or something. And that's what they did to say that this, herd had H5N1, the bird flu. Okay. You know, the one that the government bought 500 doses for. Yeah. 500,000 doses. Same thing. So these birds had it. And that caused everybody to freak out. So the CFI said, kill them all. And the farmer said, nope, we're not killing our birds. We want testing done on them. And the CFIA said, well, we've done our testing. The 2 PCR tests were enough to tell us that you got to kill them all. And if you do your own testing, it's going to cost you $250,000 and possibly 6 months in jail. So these folks are not able to test their own birds under threat of jail time and huge fines to be able to prove that they're healthy. Now, we don't actually need proof because this bird flu has an incubation period of about 2 weeks, something like that. So after 2 or 3 weeks, all of the damage will be done, and whoever's left over are the survivors, okay, and the ostriches. Now, here's the thing I didn't really understand until I got out here. Genetics, these animals, ostriches are like 21 million years old. They're like dinosaurs. Okay. So for all of those 21 million years, any of the diseases that ravaged the planet, the healthy ostriches that lived and got through those diseases passed on that herd immunity to their offspring. Same thing that happened here. So it was a 2 week window where these things should have been dead right around January. And these guys got an injunction in court and they've been fighting it, still fighting it. We're waiting for a result now back from the courts. But the thing is, it's 3 months later. And not one of these animals have got sick. They're as healthy as anything. If you look at all the videos, I'll take a walk over there so you guys can have a look. But these things are bouncing around, running, like clucking and doing the other thing that rhymes with clucking. And they're just happy as anything. So they're clearly healthy. The CFI still wants them killed. And we're supposed to have a result on Thursday of last week. We were waiting for a result yesterday, and we're still waiting today. So,
Who
and
wants to have them
the
killed?
determination, the CFIA, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, which is really curious, seeing as how these birds aren't raised for meat. Okay, they're not raised for meat. They're not raised for their skins. They're raised for the eggs, because all of this herd that has herd immunity that got over the H5N1, they're the antibodies creations within the yolks of the eggs. So they don't have to destroy the bird. They can literally take the eggs, do testing on the yolks, and basically extract antibodies from the yolks. What that means is these guys can, in a natural fashion, without killing anything, without big without shots, anything like that, literally has, which means all these chickens that are being killed, the damage could be mitigated by putting these antibodies either in the food or in the spray. There's a bunch of different ways you can do it so that the animals get the herd immunity that the ostriches already have.
Wow. So
Does that make sense?
there was some technological issues because of the connection with walking around, I think. But what I gathered is that you're saying the ostriches actually have an immunity that they could provide to other birds. that have been getting
Absolutely.
impacted by not having the immunity the ostriches could actually gift them with.
That's correct. The ostriches have got herd immunity. So all of the healthy birds that are left over have overcome this H5N1. And that overcomingness shows up in the yolks of the eggs that they can extract in the form of antibodies and impregnate masks with. They could put it in air filtration systems in airplanes so that any of this H5N1 virus that gets into the air or otherwise is immediately filtered out and killed by these antibodies. Put it in masks. Now, I'm not a big mask wearer, as you know, but the reason I don't wear a mask is because it's like, shooting a BB through a chain link fence. These viruses are way smaller than the holes in the mask. However, if you impregnated the mask with the antibodies, then the air would have to go through the mask, come in contact with the antibodies, and would be killed on contact. So it actually makes a mask that could be effective in solving this, and not because it's stopping the virus, because it's killing it as it goes through this membrane of antibodies that have the herd immunity.
Right. So it actually makes the mask have a utility beyond impeding the ability to breathe.
Yeah, well, yeah, that too.
Okay. Well, obviously, the way that that is presented, it shows which side of the fence that we're on. And one of the things that I love about you, Jim, is that you are a man that actually stands for a cause. You have, as long as what I've known you since we met at the first Soulshine Festival in 2021. And then I've seen you at other places, rallies, and then heard through Fairy Creek, for instance, where we actually went to the premiere for a documentary on it. I find out you guys were there, you stood your ground on the hill, and now you're out with the ostriches to be able to help people understand what's going on there, because you really understand that if people don't know, then they don't care.
Yeah, awareness and education is a big key here. A lot of people don't really understand the connections between the ostriches and the World Health Organization and government overreach. Well, suffice it to say, if you've got a small farmer who's just trying to make a living here, bringing a legitimate product to market that threatens big pharma's domination in this, it kind of you can kind of put those things together and understand why these guys are undergoing such persecution. Their business is put on hold. They
Mm-hmm.
can't create any products. They can't sell any products. They can't move the ostriches. They can't do anything. And this is months and months and months after it's been proven that these animals are totally healthy. Now, it hasn't been proven, you know, decisively because they can't test their own birds. They're not allowed. They're not allowed. 6 months in jail to bring back the results. It could prove that everything is bunk. It's
I think
wild.
I think that what should be happening is the names of the men and women that are actually making these unreasonable demands are actually put on notice in their private capacity. So they have to say it is of their personal choice to push forward mandates that have no force and effect if the men and women that own the subject in question actually take command of the hand to write the commands that change the demands. Quite literally, with these mandates, if everybody is being dealt with using titles, then that's fictions dealing with fictions, which are like ghosts coming after real people that have got confused thinking that they were chasing you when you're just carrying the ID they're actually after. And so, if we actually take
Right.
it out of identities and get back to being real, then we see it is real men and women causing real men and women and real animals harm.
I don't know. See, the family doesn't have an issue with the CFIA necessarily. They take issue with the way they're implementing their will around this particular subject. This,
Right.
to inspect and keep our food safe is great, but to destroy the ability for animals to be able to continue on their own lineage
Yeah.
and being disease-free because they've already fixed that in their own immune systems. To prevent that from happening would be catastrophic in many different ways, because this is it's a policy I just learned about. It's called a stamping out policy, and I don't know if you've heard of this. But the idea of this stamping out policy is that if one animal, and this could be in a herd of cows or chickens or whatever, if one animal is sick, their policy is kill them all. Doesn't matter if there's 100,000 of them. If there's one sick, kill them all. And the problem with that is you're killing out all of the ones that can potentially overcome whatever this particular disease or challenge is. So they weaken the ability for these animals. And so they stomp them out. The government pays them so much per animal. Here, they haven't even given an offer. We've been talking to other chicken farmers who have been given offers. And sometimes the government will give the farmers more money than what the chicken's worth to kill them all. Mm-hmm. Right? So the farmer's like, well, okay. And then they repopulate their barn with new eggs and new chickens. Yeah, well, okay, great. Where do they come from? Well, they came from the genetics of one that maybe aren't as strong as the ones that survived that they killed. You know, it's you look at the cascading effect of this, it is a slippery slope, because now we're talking about the ability impeding, a family's ability to be able to make a living. These things are pets to them. Okay. They don't kill them. They don't eat them. They're so they've all got names. I met Jim the ostrich the other day. It's now my profile pic. Did you know that ostriches, when they have a red face, a red beak, and a red throat, the brighter the red, the deeper the red, the more testosterone it has. And Jim has a lot of testosterone, so I don't know what that means, but.
Wow. So you are out there with the flock of birds that are up for destruction simply because bullies are at the helm, and there's no one to hold liable when you're going after a ghost or a title.
Discussing offensive measures. Right now, they're just on defense. They're just trying to protect themselves against all the things. And what happens is these agencies, what they do is they throw every single impediment and roadblock in your way to make your life difficult. Their job here is to dishearten you, run you out of time, money, and spirit. Mm-hmm. Yep. So they're not in a hurry to get anything done. They're preventing them from moving forward at all. And in the meantime, they've got to continue paying their costs. We've got 20 people out here that are patrolling the entire area. Just so you know, one of these, because of the irresponsible reporting by the CFIA and others, there was a note that went out to 79 members. Now I'm there. Okay, I should start at the beginning. A couple of weeks ago, there was an ostrich shot in the head with a .22 hollow point. The entry wound was just below the ear and came out the other side. Great big hole on the other side. So it was a hollow point .22. Nobody heard the shot. With a .22 in the proximity where we are, we should have heard the shot. Sounds like they might have had silencers on. Now, some kind of sound suppression thing on it, which is illegal, but what happened was the local hunting association, so the CFIA, when they wanted to call these things, they didn't want to come and call them themselves. So they're trying to find outside parties to do it. So they went to the hunters and said, hey, would you be willing to come in and kill these ostriches? Right. And then the head of the hunting association in Canada put out a note saying, no, not cool. But the local one put out a note to 79 members of their local hunting people and said, hey, can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah. I'm just horrified by the story you're telling. Carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. So a local hunting association put out to 79 of their members, if you see anything weird going on at the ostrich farm, call the CFIA, whatever. Kind of like just coaxing people and letting them all know, these people with guns, that they have ostriches that may not be wanted. And we're not saying that they did anything, like that it came from there. I know that this note went out, and 2 days later, an ostrich was shot. So we're not blaming them. It could have been a local. It could have been anything. But this is the kind of threats that the farm's under. So now we're up 24 hours a day doing perimeter checks. We've got people checking the road. We've got people checking, and when you see this place, it's super isolated. Like we're putting together a package today that'll help people understand Edgewood, BC, and where it is in the scheme of things. The nearest town is like 2 hours away or something. So they're picking on this little farm in the middle of nowhere, hoping that nobody will know about it. And
Exactly.
I'm not down for that. So I want
Good.
everybody to know about it, and you're helping me do it. So thank you.
Yeah, my absolute pleasure, Jim. It's an honor and privilege to get to see the adventures that you have went on for exactly this, because that is precisely what happens when we get isolated. It's the Fabian Society's approach or method, which is drain the resources of those with resources and the spirit and morale of those that have the capacity to stand up and take a stand for a cause that matters. Because when there is hope within the people, there is the possibility to continue exercising free will while we are free to do so. And as soon as we are, as the warriors, stop standing up for the little guy that doesn't matter, that's out in the middle of nowhere, and we forget the power of one, well, which is actually 400 ostriches, plus the ones that have the ownership of them, and everyone else that is impacted because they're coming in to participate in a worthy cause.
Yeah. Yeah, there is hope here. You know, it's there's a tension, obviously, but there's hope. You know, some of the things that are happening, like last night, I was at the kitchen table and the mail came in and they started opening the mail and they're getting handwritten notes saying, it isn't much, save the ostriches, thank you. No name, no nothing, sent $40 in the mail. And you could tell it was handwritten by somebody, either it was either a kid or I don't know. It was just, so these kind of things are happening over and over and over, and they were just bawling their eyeballs out. So it gives them encouragement every time they get a little jolt of support. Hey, look, I'm here with the ostriches. You want to see them?
Yes.
Okay. This
Wow.
these ones are doing. See that? That's called cantailing. Cantailing is when they're arousing themselves. They're rubbing their neck along their back. They're arousing themselves and arousing some of the opposite sex when they're doing that. So these are, look, there's another one there. You know, when you're sick, you don't get all aroused now, do you?
No.
But these guys, and they're so curious. They stand about 9 feet tall, some of them. Um, they got great big, I don't know if you can see, but the claws. Oh, look at this. Look at this. Look at this.
What? What? I would not have thought.
Their throats blow up. And when I first got here, the very first night, I was in my van, sleeping in my van in the field, and all I thought I heard was like really bassy music far, far away. But it just turned out it was the sound of these ones. Look at them. Look at them. Holy fuck, man. And look at those ones over there. They're having some fun. Look,
They're
they're getting on it.
excited.
Yeah, they're getting her done.
What?
This guy's ostrich. Look, look, look. And it turns out that the families here is usually one male and then two females, and that's kind of their happy little family. The black ones here are males, and then the gray ones are females. Oh, this one's getting old. Look at this. He's getting all antsy. Um, yeah, and then the brown ones. You see some of the brown ones. They tend to be younger ones. Ooh, what's going on here? Ooh, wow. Ooh.
They got interrupted.
Yeah, so you see these
Wow.
birds. It's uh, it's an amazing story. And we ain't gonna let them die, man. We got plans. I mean, we're getting right in the middle of it. The owners have said that they will stand in the pens. So if people are shooting, they can't because there's gonna be humans in there.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, okay.
They should not be at this point when they're so healthy and vibrant and lively.
Dude, you don't even know.
Gorgeous.
It's amazing, right?
Absolutely stunning.
They lay an egg every couple of days, and these eggs are the same size as about 2 dozen eggs. So it's a great big egg, and the egg shell is really tough, made out of calcium. You could literally throw it way up in the air, and if it landed on grass or whatever, it would just bounce.
Wow.
Um, the It's interesting. I don't know if you've ever heard of how you can make a tree be worth more. Because if you take a tree and you turn it into a log and put it on the fire, it's worth a certain amount. If you take it and turn it into birds or boards, it becomes worth another amount. If you turn it into toothpicks, it becomes worth even more. You've heard that before?
Mm. No.
Well, these
Well,
you haven't. Okay. So it's basically the raw material of a tree
yeah,
becomes more and more valuable depending on how you do it. It's like
yeah.
um, I don't know, like a kilogram of steel, for instance. The kilogram of steel is only $5 or something. But if you were to turn that into, I don't know, something,
Hmm.
nails or something, it becomes worth more. But if you were to turn it into paper clips, it becomes worth even more. So the idea that these ostrich eggs provide 24 eggs of nutrition is one thing, but it becomes hella more valuable when you start extracting the antibodies that cure all of these diseases. It works out to be like $9,000 an egg or something, and they're laying
What?
one every 2 days. But but these guys can't do anything about it. Like they can't. They're storing the eggs,
Oh
but
man.
they're not allowed to sell them. They're not allowed to eat them. They're not allowed to process them. They're not allowed to do anything. Look at this guy. This guy's like, whoa, man, right up in me. Yeah. So it's quite the story. I have become enamored with this family. They are just the most down to earth, hospitable, kind, hardworking people you ever saw. There's two people. There's 400 birds on this farm. I wish I could show you the overshots. There's a couple hundred acres, and there's two people that do the work.
What? Wow.
Yeah, two people that do the work because they're quarantined. Nobody else is allowed in.
Right.
So yeah,
How
pretty trippy.
ridiculous. So you are
Pretty
waiting for
trippy,
an outcome,
man.
you said. What's
So cool,
what
huh?
is the outcome? Yeah, absolutely amazing. What is the outcome you said you're waiting for?
So there's a tribunal that happened. It finished last week on Thursday. It was a long weekend this weekend. We had hoped for a decision on that tribunal, and that tribunal was uh, the, the family had put in I don't remember the proper terminology, but basically they got an injunction so that the CFIA couldn't come in and kill the birds. Okay,
Good.
something like that.
Yeah.
So the most recent legal stuff that was filed was to try to remove that, to try to remove the quarantine and get these guys to back off. So the judge is supposed to be ruling on that. If he rules that the CFIA was in the right, then that opens the door for the CFIA to come here and basically kill them at any time. If it's proven that he's wrong, well, we're in much better shape, and then they can go on their countersuit and do all the other things necessary in order to rectify this. But what they really want to do here is they want to get a hold of the other farmers and let them understand that these guys are, they're next. This
Right.
is precedent. You know how
Exactly.
it works,
Yes. Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Get a precedent somewhere, and they can do it anywhere else without question. And these people just aren't having it. So if we win this, we set a great precedent to ensure that this stamping out policy isn't something that just be arbitrarily applied.
Good. Good. That gives my body goosebumps because it's actually the same similar or it's the similar situation to Fairy Creek, ironically enough, given you guys went out there and with that premiere that we went to see where there was big buzz because the movie was coming out. And then what happened? I have no idea because it got lost in the chaos of life and all that happens if we don't keep our finger on the pulse of the situation. And so needing to check back in with Fairy Creek, and if anybody watching this it knows more information or is directly involved, please leave a comment. We'd love to see what you're doing and what you're aware of out there. And then with the ostriches here, how do people support this family? How do people support the cause? And what are the consequences for those who are acting as public officials who are making these bad calls to cause harm to people that are making a living and have very valuable animals that have immunities, which you've just made a really fantastic argument that I'm sure is not necessarily the first, but your delivery of it was spectacular.
Yeah, I've done it a few times over the past little while. So,
Fair.
in answer to your questions, as far as holding the people accountable that are doing this, yeah, holding the people accountable. Just so you know, CFIA is a corporation. Canadian Food Inspection Agency is not a government entity. It is a government-sponsored corporation with a president. So the president's face is out there. We've got that out there. We haven't bothered with the other players because the farmers don't necessarily have a problem with CFIA. They just have a problem with the way they're applying their shit here. CFIA is trying to say that they're above the law. Okay, they're in the court saying you can't challenge our ethics. These are written in stone. They're above the law. This is what's being argued. And not only that, they had a judge that was relatively neutral as far as they could tell. At the very end, at the sentencing, they flew in a federal judge from Ottawa who fell asleep twice. And towards the end of the day, said, "Hey, can we just wrap this up?" They were totally unprofessional, and it really does reek of. I as much as we are remaining optimistic about the outcome here, we're also realistic, knowing we're fighting a great big, almost faceless corporation. So thank you for mentioning that, because it is individuals that need to be held accountable in these organizations. So.
Jim, I can't really.
Our job right now is education. Okay. If people understood this, if they understood that the government is attacking an innocent family, but sometimes. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's better.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? All right. I'm going to stand right here. Are you sure you can hear me?
Now, yeah. It's syncing up with your video again.
All right, good. So as far as what people can do at home, basically, we believe that if people understood the truth of this story, there would be a public outcry, a massive public outcry. Innocent farmers having their animals killed after they're proven healthy to protect big pharma and their lab-grown meat idea so that they can stamp out all farms. And I know this sounds weird, right? But they want to stamp out all farms and control the food supply, because if you control the food supply, you control the people. So if they can grow the food in a lab, they don't got to worry about weather and all that kind of stuff. They got to worry about their competition, which is these livestock farmers who are doing it right, using heredity and genetic sequencing in order to sort out some of the problems that we're dealing with here. So what the people can do at home, we need you to share this stuff out. We really just need to educate people. Once people understand, we believe there'll be a big public outcry. What else you can do? If you go to saveourostriches.com, that's their official thing. You can get more information and links and all that stuff. There is donations, it's saveourostriches@gmail.com if you want to send an Interact thing, and they've got a GoFundMe, all the typical things you can find on saveourostriches.com. But more than anything, folks, get informed, understand what's happening here, and then try to just look a little bit further and understand the slippery slope this puts us down. I am not into listening to an Orwellian government who just wants to stamp out life because they want to sell their own products. Screw them, screw everything. We're here to stand up for the ostriches, and people here are willing to get in front of bullets. So good luck on them doing this clean, because it ain't going to happen. We're going to get it. If they're going to do it, it's going to be ugly, and I'm going to record every single excruciating moment. So these fucking excuse my language. So these morons are not bullying innocent people, man. It's like a David and Goliath thing here, and these folks didn't do nothing. I hope they bring out their rock and sling that giant right through the head.
I love your passion. There? I absolutely am. And I was just giving space for your share to land because it's powerful. And it is a matter of David being up against Goliath, because that's what the corporation is. It's just we forgot that the machine that we're really up against is the one that we step into the parts to play the roles in the machine that is causing us all harm. And the stamping out policy is incredibly important for people to be aware of. The fact that precedents can be set for how to treat people can also be set, which is why I mentioned Fairy Creek, which was, from my understanding, a training grounds for how to unleash activists, protests, treatment for the rest of the world after, if they found out what would work best. And MK Ultra is a very real beast that has been in existence for several decades and getting fine-tuned since way before then too. And people are not aware of so many of these pieces that it sounds very conspiratorial, but there is a giant conspiracy, and one is towards life, and the other is live in reverse, which is what evil is.
It literally feels like a good, bad life death fight here.
Yep.
There's a one group that's fighting for the life of you know beings that are not themselves, and the other one just wants to kill everything. I want to just kind of like, let's give you a little step ahead here, folks. If they're able to stamp out a herd because some were sick, especially after the other ones are all healthy, if they're able to do this with farm animals, what makes you think they won't do it with your family when your kid gets sick? Honestly, I know shit, bullshit, bullshit. If they're going to teach people that this is going to keep happening, so what's going to happen? Everything's going to get killed. And ladies and gentlemen, you do not want to be the recipient of some big pharma experiment. In the you don't want to do that, folks. It starts with these ostriches. Dude, you don't even know. Like H5N1 is in like farms. Okay, this thing is here and it's coming. It's ripping through the population. But folks, there's a freaking solution right here that is not injections, is not big pharma. There's a solution right here, and that's why they're getting all the feedback. That's why they're getting all the kickback and all the pushback, because they have a solution that isn't the government solution. So we need, I believe we as a people need to stand up and do everything that we can. I thank you for, I was at Fairy Creek. I learned a lot there. It's amazing to see people who are willing to do something on behalf of, in that case, other living beings, namely the trees, at their own peril and at their own expense. It's amazing to see, but it only takes one to stand up, folks.
Mm-hmm.
And standing up doesn't mean you got to drag your ass out here, although that would be great. You're welcome to come. It means just standing up, thinking for yourself, doing some research, and helping other people realize what you found out. That's how we're going to get the truth out.
Yep. It's that, and it's also actually realizing that we are the people that are connected to the people who are connected to the people who are making these decisions, if the circle isn't even closer than that. So, for those that are watching this that know any of the people that are making choices to do this, please know you are going to be held liable, accountable, and responsible, because it's not okay to bully people that didn't have somebody standing up for them because they were invisible until they made some noise, got some attention, and then people got involved. If it just takes one person to care for a baby when it comes home, and yes, it takes a village to raise it, but as long as there is one that is going to care for that one, it will live. And we are the ones that are coming around to find the ones that have been getting bullied and saying it is not okay. And they are not on their own, because we are connected, we are united. And to Papa Bubbles, tell them about the methodology or the ideology of Church of Bubbles with not popping other people's bubbles, please.
The Church of Bubbles believes that we all live in our own individual bubble that is beautiful and delicate. And instead of being pricks and going popping other people's bubbles, we should co-join with the bubbles that lift us up and make us feel more beautiful about ourselves. So that's it, man. I mean, that's it. That's all.
That's beautiful. Thank you very much for sharing it all. Thank you for everything you're doing. And thank you to you who watches this and does something after you have left your like and comment and shared with someone. It's the action that takes place from here that makes all the difference. Thanks.